Who was the famous generals that said logistics wins wars? Anyway, there's probably a few that have said something.
Was it professionals or amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics?
There's that. Absolutely, yeah, there's that. What's that?
Professionals or amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics.
Yeah, there's a lot to that.
There sure is. I talk about in that book that's on the top of the pile. The first chapter is where I happened to physically be at the height of American power. I was at 7 Corps main headquarters during the ground war in the Gulf. And we actually moved a city of 500,000 people into the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert and then drove it north. And I remember coming over a hill one day in Saudi Arabia, looking down at a wadi, wide Wadi Al-Batin, and there's nothing there. And then 3 days later, I drive over, and horizon to horizon are log bases. They had moved essentially a town in there in 3 days. It is, a tank battalion is power. Moving a tank division into another country and then fighting it is superpower. And we need to understand that. People talk about, well, Kurt, if you were, this Israeli thing, I don't really understand how they're fighting in Gaza. And I'm like, well, they're not fighting like we would. Because what I would do if I'm taking fire from a building is I would grab my S3 Air and say, I want that building flat. And then one of 100 airplanes or my artillery battalion or the supporting artillery battalions would flatten that building and we move on. I would put so much stuff on the enemy that they couldn't resist, which is how we won the war against Germany. Germans got to the point where they were afraid to get on the radio because or afraid to fire because as soon as they did, 500 American guns would hit them because we just had so much stuff. And that's one of the secrets of America. We, guys like you were the scalpel, guys like me were the sledgehammer.
Yeah. And logistics, what does our logistics capability look like today with everything that we're exporting, giving away, maybe selling in some, cases or however that works?
Oh yeah.
What does our logistics train look like today? And where is it? Ammo storage facilities. What are those?
It's a disaster. We're burning through 155 shells in Israel and Ukraine. I don't know how many we have. I certainly don't know that we're building enough. I think we have one plant that builds them. That's one arson attack. And by the way, it's like weird arson events, huh? Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
weird
there's been a few
events in our infrastructure. That's one arson attack from destroying our capability to build our main artillery ammunition. The other thing is, I just saw, the Merchant Marine. Nobody makes movies about the Merchant Marine, right?
Yeah, they should. That's a good. And also, I talk to young people about going into the military or going into the service academies. The Merchant Marine academies, they're kind of a little hidden gem where you have a lot more choices.
You get commissioned in any branch.
Yeah.
But what we're sidelining 17 merchant ships because we just don't have crew. Unbelievable. And you've got this is a bigger problem. Is why don't we have enough sailors to man 17 ships? We have 333 million people. We should have enough people going. I think we're funneling way too many young people into college when they should be doing and are better suited for other jobs. There is look. When you're on a ship, there's plenty of time to read and learn on your own. You can get on the internet, you can do stuff. And frankly, the people I'm most impressed with are not the people with fancy degrees.
Yeah.
So the idea that you can't be educated if you don't go to college is stupid. It's just ridiculous. In fact, if you go to college, I would presume that you are probably being exposed to poisonous and stupid ideas. But we need. I met a very impressive 22-year-old the other day. He is a pipe fitter on Navy ships, and they have to fly him around because they need pipe fitters and play. You would think that there'd be plenty of pipe fitters in San Diego. No, they have to fly him into San Diego because there aren't enough. Wow. And this guy is smart, capable, making a ton of money. And he's got a real skill. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of guys in there just going, not another English class.
Right.
Who should be out there pipe fitting, welding, doing these kinds of great jobs that require a lot of brains and require a lot of skill. I mean, look behind me. This is my house that's just being, redone. There is not one task in this house that me with my 3 degrees could do. And it starts with the electricity, the granite. I mean, I have learned a hell of a lot going through this process. But the level of skill in the design and execution of these things is huge. And I think we need to encourage people to do these jobs because we need an industrial base.
Yep. And guess what's not going to fix that sink that's close to you right now? AI. AI is not going to come into your house and come in and fix that thing or lay that tile or do those jobs, do the electricity. Those ones are the ones that are the safe jobs. We could probably.
You know what was weird? Most of the guys were just a little younger than me. I didn't see a lot of 20-year-olds in here.
Interesting.
25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's like, let me tell you, they're making good money.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, did you know, speaking of Navy and ships, I'm doing some research on the USS Pueblo for a project. And I didn't know that it's still in North Korea.
Yes.
It's still a commissioned U.S. vessel.
Yes.
On the active roster, or whatever you call it. And it's still in North Korea, and they parade it around. It's part of a museum that they've moved a few times around to highlight the fact that they still have the USS Pueblo from 1968.
Yeah, that guy, those guys need to be on our list. It bothers me that people aren't afraid of Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, grabbing a couple of Marines in Turkey, and they just thought that was okay. But Houthis, whoever the Houthi is, shooting missiles at us? You would think that, back in the day, we used to, the West used to do punitive expeditions. We used to go in and blow the crap out of them, cause a lot of damage, make their life a living hell, kill a bunch of them, and then leave.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think that's, I think that's what we should have done in Afghanistan. Gone in, done a lot of damage, which we did. And then some people got the bright idea that we're going to turn these guys into Americans. Look, I wasn't in Afghanistan, but I can pretty safely say most of them don't want to be Americans. I think a lot of them do now because, well, the wrong guys are in charge there. But the fact is, we need to establish a level of fear of screwing with us.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people don't understand that being soft simply invites more violence. This nightmare in Gaza should not have happened. It should have been decisively dealt with earlier. Frankly, strategically, I think they should have made that the secondary, written off the hostages because essentially they're all going to be murdered. And gone and destroyed Hezbollah, because Hezbollah is the main threat. I would have destroyed Hezbollah and then taken care of Gaza at my leisure.
Yeah.
But they decided to fight it in a way that tried to cater to the Americans, or at least this administration. Of course, this administration wants them to lose, so there's no way they can ever satisfy them. Hey, the Hamas turned down your latest offer, so give them more stuff. Surrender harder.
Yeah, Trey Yingst was just on the podcast, and he talked about, I hadn't read it anywhere else before. He has a book that just came out, and he talks about there are Israeli jets in the air flying north towards Hezbollah targets, and then there was a call from the White House to Netanyahu, and an hour before they were supposed to be bombs away, they turned around. I hadn't read that anywhere before.
I hadn't either. Sounds right. The fact is that Biden and his people have been wrong about every major foreign policy, as Bob Gates said, wrong about every major foreign policy question in the last half century. Yeah. The thing is, the way you win wars is to win them. Okay, and you do what you have to do to win them.